welcome to another episode of Piano Guts 101. I'm Tim, the piano doctor, and I'm all over the map, all over here. Today we have a Yamaha C6 semi-grand piano. When you're looking at grand pianos, there's different sizes. Most people just generically call them baby grand pianos. You either have upright pianos or baby grand pianos, and that's not the case. Any company's smallest grand piano that they make, that's their baby grand. Then from there they go up usually in 3 to 4 inch increments. You might have a company that makes a 5 foot, and then maybe a 5'3", and a 5'7", and 5'10", 6 foot. Once you get to 6 foot, then you're at a parlor grand. And then at 7 foot, you're at a semi-concert grand, which is what this is. And then at 9 feet in length, you're at a concert grand. That's as big as they get. But this one's 7 feet long. It was built in Japan in I can't say that word, Hamamatsu, Japan, where the Yamaha factory has been making pianos since 1901. It's a C-series piano, which before this they had a G-series piano, which they weren't as good. They actually went in and tweaked them a little bit, made the bridges a little bit better, made the shells a little bit stronger. It seems like the scale design that they're using seems to hold a little bit better. But the C series that's the Cadillac series of Yamaha pianos. They still make them, obviously. They make them up to 9 feet. That's called a CFX, is their 9-footer. But you have a C1, C3, C5, C7, and then I think a CFX is the 9 foot. But like I said, any company's smallest one is their baby grand, and this one is the semi-concert grand. But when you're taking a piano like this and they get longer and longer and longer in length, what's changing are the bass notes. The treble notes are going to sound the same on this piano or a little tiny upright piano because those strings are so small to give you those high tones. What changes are the bass notes. The longer the string is, the deeper the tone is. And the deeper the tone is, the better it sounds. You can't go any longer than 9 feet because then the sound wave is so flopping around that it's not, you can't control it. But at 9 feet, you've got enough control with the piano that you can make them sound good, and they can sound very good. Think about this. I'm a bass guitar player. I would love to be able to play a 9-foot tall bass guitar because the tones that you get out of it would be phenomenal, but obviously you can't do that for obvious reasons. All right, so anyway, let's take apart this piano and see what it looks like on the inside. This is the part in the video where I tell you, do not take apart your piano. Don't look at your piano over there and think, I can go ahead and take that one apart. You will have to call me when you break it. Don't take apart your piano, okay? All right, so take the fall board out of this one. Yamaha pianos they're very good for technicians. You can get into them pretty easy. You can get out of them pretty easy. Everything that you need is pretty much right there. Right now what I'm doing is I'm taking out this piece from below. As I take it out here, you'll see it'll pop up. It's called the cheek block, just like your cheeks. It's the cheek block. It keeps the keys in place. All right, so we pull this out, cheek block comes out. There's one on either side. You have to have the cheek blocks there, obviously, to keep the keys in place, but also for using the left pedal. If you didn't have the cheek blocks, the piano would just keep sliding. In another video, we'll talk about pedals and what they do, because most people don't know, and why some pianos have 2 and why some pianos have 3. But right now we're working with the Yamaha C7, one of the nicest pianos out there. Oh, it's also in a polished ebony finish. They make 2 kinds of finishes. You either make a polished finish or a satin finish. Polished finish is considered the European look. The satin finish is considered the American look. If you think about a classic Steinway piano, that's a satin look made in Queens. If you see any of the shiny ones, most of the time they were made in Asia or made for the Asian market or made for the Asian likes. But Steinway has started to switch, and they're starting to make some shiny ones just to be used on TV because they look better on TV. But for the most part, satin finish is the American look, and this shiny look is the European look. All right, come on out. I'm pulling the key slip out off the front. What is it? It is in there. keys have slid forward a little bit up against this key slip, and it's warped the key slip. All right, so we've talked about this before in other videos, and this is a perfect example of it. This is your key slip. It's a long piece of wood. It's there literally so that the bottom of the keys don't look like this, you know, and then in the bottom of the keys you got stuff and get dirt and dust and stuff falls underneath the keys, and so this is there to make it look nice. Part of the case looks beautiful. The problem with it is it's a long, skinny piece of wood, and long, skinny pieces of wood have a tendency to bend and flex. And when they bend and flex, they go right up against your keys, and they can make your keys stick. That's something that this piano has probably got some issues with it, although I hadn't noticed any yet. But you just saw how hard that was to get that key slip out. Usually, if you know what you're doing with them, you can just pop them right out. So there's some reason why it's as tight as it is in there. And my guess would be that it's because of humidity. All right, so let's pull this out, see what we got. Okay, once again, don't take apart your piano, please. You've got 12,000 moving parts in a piano. Put it in perspective, you have about 15,000 in a car. And most of them are right in here. There you go. All right, so this is everything that's inside of the piano, and that's why I started calling this series Piano Guts 101, is because most people have never seen the insides of a piano. They think, when you think insides of a piano, you think where the strings are and such. And that's a pretty cool place, but nobody ever sees this part of it, which is why I wanted to start showing people this. So when you're looking at an action like this, a couple of things you want to look for is to make sure that the hammers are nice and straight and true. Notice how they're kind of flipped up a little bit right here in the middle. I think that's just because it's leaning against me. Let's see. Yeah, it was just because of the way we had them pulled out. So everything else is straight. You always want to look and see what the hammers look like, if they're all eaten up, chewed up. Every time that hammer comes up and strikes that string, it compacts that felt harder and harder and harder and harder. And the old joke is that the hardest felt you've ever felt. But as it comes up and it strikes a string and gets harder and harder and harder, what it's doing to the tone of the piano is it's changing it from a soft tone. I can't get in this camera shot to save my life. There it is. What it's doing is it's changing it from a soft tone to a hard tone. Because as your hammer, let's see, it used to look like this, and you pounded it and pounded it and pounded it, all of a sudden now it's flat. So now all of that is now on top of it, and it's as hard as a rock. And because it's hard as a rock, it's smacking your string like that. All you want to hit the string is that little tiny peak at the top. That's the strike point. You just want it to pop right off the strings and let them resonate and let them ring out as well as possible. It's the difference between using like a drummer uses a drumstick. You could use a baseball bat too, but it would sound different. That's what's happened. You started off with drumsticks, and now you've got baseball bats when they're so flattened out like that. But aside from that, these do look pretty good. They don't look like they've been chewed up, mowed up too much. So everything seems good. They got some good pliability. All the time, though, in church pianos, you're going to find stuff. I don't know if you saw, I was taking out buttons, clips. There's always something in them. But so far, this one's looking pretty good. All the hammers look right. All the whipping assemblies that are up underneath all look right. Everything's laid out right. There's nothing cattywampus. Nothing's off center or anything. Everything seems to be good. On the inside, well, once again, you got stuff. A guitar pick for Gene Simmons. There you go. But everything else looks good. The dampers look good. The dampers that sit up on top of the strings, they look good. So everything's looking good. Let's see if we can slide this back in. Again, don't take apart your piano. This is the part where you'll break it when you put it back in. They don't go in very easy. Okay, so line back up. you got to set them in there just right. If they go in too far, it really messes up the dampers. The dampers sit on top of the strings. When you play a note, the hammer comes up, hits the string, the damper has to lift off of it for a second while that note vibrates. That's what's transferring the energy from your fingers down through the keys, down through the strings, down through the soundboard to make sound. So anyway, so the dampers have to lift up off the strings for a second while that string vibrates. And as soon as you let off on the key, the damper comes back down. If you slide this action way back in there too far, it'll jam up all those dampers, and at every note you play, the dampers will hang up. I got a call one time for a concert. They had a technician come out and do work, and the piano seemed fine. He tuned it, everything was great, and slid it back in, told him thank you very much, have a good concert, and they went to play the first notes, and all the dampers were held up. So you can imagine, this is what it sounds like if all the dampers are held up. What it does is it makes it to where it's a wash or just a cacophony of sound. There's nothing definitive, but here, this is what it would sound like with no dampers. You just have everything going on and nothing would work. So as soon as you add dampers, everything stops and you can play single chords. Let them ring because the dampers are up, and stop them with your foot. See that foot down there, my right foot? See, it's holding it down. Now up. That's what dampers do. They lift and stay up as long as you want with that pedal, and then they drop when your foot goes back down. They also they lift, and then as soon as you let off on the key, they drop back down. Lift, drop. That's why they stop. So anyway, this one's really sounding good. For this episode of Piano Guts 101, I'm Tim, the Piano Doctor. If you like this video, please check out more of them on the website, which is pianodoctorusa.com, pianodoctorusa.com. If you have any questions or comments about this video, or you have a piano you'd like us to check out, please put it in the comments section located below or off to the side of one of these videos. If you have a piano, or if you'd like to reach me directly, please, text is always preferred, 706-833-4164. If you'd like to show me your piano, please text a picture to me. We'll start with that. 706-833-4164. Again, for Tim, the Piano Doctor, y'all have a great day. Stay blessed.